So let me start sharing my slides. Okay. Are you able to see my
Yeah.
slide?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So, okay, let us see how I can minimize this. One second. Okay. Uh, so thanks for having me to present this talk today. And so I'm really happy to present this topic today because this is really a sacred day. We are presenting the concept of oneness and how the energy spectrum and the oneness we can discuss. And so because yesterday was Good Friday and tomorrow is uh, Easter Sunday. So we are right at the junction of the uh, uh, understanding the oneness and how the energy spectrum will help us to uh, understand the oneness better. So it is a very challenging topic to understand the oneness. So oneness has both the manifested and unmanifested energy. So thinking of in terms of as an energy concept, so I use the word energy spectrum as the manifested portion of the energy. So however, the spectrum can be used in various other ways also. So, but so we will use the energy spectrum as a starting point, and then we'll discuss more about these words in detail as we go forward. Uh, so the understanding of the oneness, we can compare it to probably like sun's energy. It's very difficult to understand, see. So whereas with the moonlight, we can perceive the moonlight, the sun's light in the through moonlight. So that's why we have some of these uh, separation into perception and expression and comprehensions. So if we can indwell on this meaning of these words, so we will be able to understand the oneness uh, much better. Let me go to the next slide. Okay, why it's not moving?
You have to move yourself.
Okay, okay, 1 second. So, oh yeah, here. Okay. Okay, got it. So first I started compiling all the various slides. I had presented one talk previously on Atma Jnana, which is the self-realization. So that was as a basis. Then I went on to additional slide compiling, and that I had presented somewhere else as a divine manifestations. So now today's presentation, we are going to see some of the slides in this topic, energy spectrum and oneness. Some of the slides are intertwined between these three topics. So basically, I can feel that this is like a Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and now this is the Karma Yoga aspect concept. So we will, but they are all very difficult to separate, and also it is very intertwined in the process of understanding oneness. So in the process of that, the perception is the first step in this slide. The perception of the sunlight, as I mentioned, is very difficult. So we are going to perceive the sunlight through moonlight. So that is the basis of this first step. And the second step, of course, is once we have perceived the in oneness light, then we have to express it in the normal life. We express it in different ways, but the pure love will be expressed as a divine love. So that will be our goal. So the purity of the mind and heart is very important. So the expression is come into the picture. Then the third one is understanding all these things is the comprehension. So if we really indwell on this meaning, so we will be much advanced spiritually. So this is the point where we are going to meet the science and the spirituality in this manifested energy and the unmanifested energy through this process. So of course, it is much better explained through various saints. So Sat Chit Ananda is another explanation for the existence, awareness, and bliss. So let's go to the next slide. So in this one, as I mentioned, spectrum is just a mention of the various different set of presentations. So it can be used in the energy spectrum or in other spectrum also. So then also some of these words are very important to indwell on that one. So that way, I'm sorry. Uh, so we can indwell on the oneness uh, uh, appropriately. So first of all, the energy spectrum has various types of energy spectrum. Most importantly, the electromagnetic spectrum that we'll be discussing in depth. But there are other spectrum also. Uh, 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 the emission spectrum, atomic spectroscopy, uh, um, then electrical engineering has their own spectrum, and astronomy has their own spectrum. So these are all various energy spectrum. So plus we can have the spectrum in other aspects also. For example, diversity in the human races have various diversity. That's also another spectrum. But let's focus on the electromagnetic spectrum in the next few slides here. Um, yeah, of course, electromagnetic spectrum comes into various wavelengths, and we can perceive this one in the materialistic world. But however, the when we get into the dark energy, it's not measurable. So that is the unmanifested energy. So that's where we'll be getting into the meat of the science and the spirituality and at that point. Now let's go to the next slide. So here, so astronomy is a broader study of the objects and the phenomena beyond Earth. So this is where the materialistic energy comes into picture. Whereas the cosmology is the branch of astronomy that focuses on the origin, evolution, and structure of the universe as a whole. So this one includes the manifested and the unmanifested energy, which accounts for majority of the energy as projected by the scientists. However, they don't even know how the dark energy is really there, and how there are various theories. Theoretical physicists are coming up with new proposals, but this is what is believed at this point. And how to perceive this unmanifested energy, this is where we're going to see the meat of the science and spirituality. So this, I would like to bring this concept briefly here, and we'll discuss later. So in the Nirguna Brahman, is it unmanifested energy? So where I'm showing you here as it's all no waves. I just manually draw this picture as a no wave here. I say completely has no gunas, and it has no cause effect, and is a non-doership. And whereas the manifested energy is presented as the Sadguna Brahman. So here, so through the various attachments and other daily life, we get into these various ups and downs, and of course, with the good human values, we go through the it's called inward energy, is the outer energy, and the middle path is the equanimity, and we'll get more details later. But the main thing is we like to separate this manifested energy as the para Brahman, and we'll analyze this through this energy spectrum in the next several slides. The unmanifested energy will get also at a later part of the presentation. So in this slide also, I want to bring to the attention of the unmanifested energy. So first, starting in this picture, we'll focus on the various chakras. So there are 7 chakras here listed. So we start with the Mooladhara chakra, then it will see it as a spectrum. So that increases to the higher level and it reaches to the Sahasrara chakra. It's almost like a branching tree we can conceptualize. And this is the unmanifested form of the energy. So this is also acts as a spectrum, and we can compare that one to the spectrum of the energy. So we will discuss this at more at the end of the slide, end of the presentation. how Gayatri Mantra has a unifying concept of this diversity into unified concept and brings us into oneness of the energy. So also, I would like to bring it. So for many years, so the spirituality field was confused between for about 1,000 years. They were discussing between the various three schools of thoughts, between Advaita Vedanta, Vishishdadvaita Vedanta, and also Dvaita Vedanta. So if you really see, this is my personal perception, and it is not really mentioned anywhere in the literature. Forgive me if I am misleading you. So let's say if you are seeing at the level of the Muladhara chakra, so there is no division in the energy at all. This is all single Atma. So let's see, if you go to the higher level, then the Trimurtis, I'm just putting it as a Trimurtis at this level. But anyway, so this, if it is a branching tree, when you reaches the Sahasrara chakra, it branches into 1,000 forms. So the duality comes. If you look at the energy level here, it is a duality. There is manifestation in different forms, plus the materials, all those things. The duality people were looking at this level. Vishishdadvaita people were looking at this level. Comes basically divine comes in different forms, whereas Advaita concept of schools started at this level. So I felt that's how they were seeing the same energy in the different three levels. But if you really see them as all as one, then the Gayatri Mantra will lead us into the oneness. So this is the spiritual spectrum. So I'll be discussing at the end of her talk a little bit more. Now let's go to the next step. Now let's go to the manifested energy. There are different types of manifested energy. Basically, they are classified into potential and kinetic. All the moving energies are all in this category, and potential energy is in this category. And this is how the various types of the energy that we can analyze, how we can get to the root of the energy, which is oneness. So this is another way of presenting the different forms of the energy. These are basic slides, but I am just using it for explaining. I'm sure we have a lot of experts in the group. This is probably very basic to start with, but we'll understand this one better. For example, in this forms of energy, we are seeing the different types. Then one thing we can say, it is further subdivided into further level. For example, we are eating the food. Food energy is God by itself. So then it divides further into 25 tattvas when we ingest the food, and that is further subdivided into that one. Then and then finally it reaches to the oneness at the end of the game. So that I'm just saying, these are all the way how we can perceive the oneness by perceiving, seeing all these different energies as the root form is the oneness. Then also the energy can be converted from one form to another form. They are all interconnected. This is how what is shown in the slides. Another basic slide to get the understanding of the oneness. Then, so let's start with the solar planet. Solar planet, we are highly dependent on sun as the sun's energy for the manifestation of the management of the entire solar planet. So, and that's the root of the solar planet energy is coming from. Then when we analyze this energy, so there is a different spectrum. This is the energy spectrum of the manifested energy, and they are coming in different wavelength and frequencies. This is the spectrum. And then so some of the energy is absorbed at the atmospheric level, and some of them is able to perceive at the earth level. So this, for example, microwave infrared is absorbed at the atmosphere level, it doesn't reach earth. So and also X-ray also doesn't reach. So visible energy and the radio wave reach the earth planet. And this is the balance of the energy in the earth level. So about 51% of the energy reaches from the solar energy reaches the earth. And this is an important slide for the green energy concept, because there is a concern that the heat, temperature may be increasing gradually. So the balance of the earth energy is maintained through these various mechanisms, about 50% of the energy is reflected back, and the ozone layer, they're all very important in maintaining the healthy energy balance in the earth. So this is the manifested form of energy. Now, again, the manifested energy, this is astronomy has advanced tremendously, as Sikh has presented so many lectures, slides on that. So this is the Milky Way galaxy. This is the picture from NASA. So this is the Milky Way galaxy. Then also there's Andromeda galaxies approaching the Milky Way galaxy. At some point, they are expecting it collide each other, and at the end stage is about like this. After several billion years. So this is the status of the manifested energy. Now, let's go to the subatomic level through quantum physics, understanding the quantum physics. So understanding the quantum physics is very difficult. I'm not a physicist or quantum physicist, and but it's important to understand the root of the oneness and energy flow in the life energy. So basically, the basic thing, this is a very basic slide. As you know, you have the electron, proton, neutron, and there are descriptions through Planck's equation and Einstein's equations. So the basic atom in the manifested world, what we know is the hydrogen atom. So this occupies 90% of the total manifested energy, the proton and electron, all those things. Now, this is the quantum microscope picture of the hydrogen atom. It has the proton and the electron. So originally, electrons were believed to move in a certain way, but it is believed now, it is believed in the whole area. Now, this is another way of looking at this spiritual aspect of the same information. So we can say this is the Shiva Shakti concept here. So the proton is the Shiva, and electron is the Shakti energy manifestation. So, and these are all the cause of the various aspects of our manifestations. And this is the basis of the manifested Saguna Brahma status. Now, of course, the increase in the number of protons go to the higher level of the atomic status, and the helium is the next level. And then, of course, the periodic table. And in 1869, the Russian chemist laid down the periodic table. After that, many atoms were discovered. There's a more recent one has 118 protons there. Of course, the starting point is the hydrogen atom with one single proton, and that's how the energy is manifested. And again, as I said, hydrogen takes 90% of the manifested energy there. And then this is the subatomic particles, and again, this is in the quantum physics up and down various they are analyzing the subatomic particles. I'm not quite familiar with all these things, but that's helps us to understand how the energy flow is happening in this universe. Now, the Thomson's experiment is important step in the milestone, how the universe originated. So after the Big Bang, when the conditions started to cool, the fundamental particles were formed, and the electron, proton, neutron, quarks formed, and later formed the atoms, and then of course they conglomerated into molecules, and the rest of the universe is created. And this is this is a YouTube reference for that. So basically, anode and cathode, and the electron beam is sent, and so he was able to identify the electron, and that was a major invention in this aspect. And now again, this is the basic slide. So originally, electrons were believed to be moving in certain circles, but later now it is believed that moving in the whole area is a field, not as one specific set of circles like that. And electron is an important aspect in the flow of the energy, because that is how the electricity is moving, and energy is moved, and a particle and a wave, electromagnetic wave formation is a mechanism we can understand. So this is the electron field, and this is again the proton and neutrons are in the nucleus, and through the angular momentum, even though this is a negative and a positive, they don't merge into the center because of the angular momentum. It is kept in a specific field, and that's the field of the electron. So that's how the energy field is happening. Now, when the electron is excited to a higher energy level, then it moves to a higher energy field. That's how the electron is perceived. Excited state and the ground level state. Now, this is the various energy level the electron is excited to the first level, higher level, and higher level. That's the various levels. And this is the hydrogen probability of the presence of the electron in the different stage of the excitements, and they are mapped it out like that. So this is that tells us the energy level. This is another picture of the same thing, different energy level, how the electron, when it's bombarded and when it goes down, then the photon is emitted. There is another picture I have here. So this is this atomic spectroscopy is telling us how the energy level is emitted when it is going to the next level. At a different level, I have a different energy. So this is that's how it creates the different wavelength of the light emitted when it is exited from that stage. So this is the bombardment of the electron, and the photon is emitted. The collision is the moving particle, collide atom. That's how the movement of the electrons is carrying the energy forward. So basically, what is a photon? A photon is a packet of quantum of light. So this is basing an understanding of the photon is important in this process. The photon is an elementary particle, as well as its particle behaves as both as a particle as well as a wave, and it has no mass, but it has a momentum. So it is moves at the speed of light. So that is the quality of the photon, characteristic of the photon. Now, this is an important experiment they done in the Osaka University. Basically, so let there be, basically, what they are showing us that simulating the creation of the matter from the photon-photon collision, it creates the mass. So basically, by colliding two photons, they were able to create the positron and the electron. So this is the particle. So from the electromagnetic wave into the particle. So this is proving against the Einstein's formula. The energy leads into the mass also. They are convertible. So that is the proving Einstein's theory in this experiment. Electron positron pair was created. This is an interesting invention to see. So this is there are four natural forces. This is basically, it's a God-given thing. Gravity, the mass effect of the mass, electricity. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. So basically, electricity and the magnetic force and the static electricity. These are the effect of the electron movement are doing all these things. This is the natural forces. So that's the finding. Now, there are two types of electricity. One is the current electricity is the that we normally use, and this is the flow of the electron is the mechanism how the electricity is done. And again, there is a direct current and alternating current. That also, as static electricity is our natural occurrence also. So this is basically, it is not useful energy. It is just simply alignment of the electron. For example, when you rub the two balloon and they are sticking it together or repelling each other depending on how the electrons are oriented. And there are other examples. Is the static electricity is lightning. So that's another way how the electricity is there, and the difference between static and current electricity. And now another finding, another important information is that tungsten is the highest melting point of all metals. And tungsten has a good electrical resistance. That's how we are able to use the tungsten in the bulb and also in various other gadgets that we in our daily life. So, for example, in the microwave, when we bombard the cathode anode, the electron is reflected from the metal, and it's reflected and it's heating the food, and that's how the microwave energy is used. And so again, that the reflection to the tungsten or other similar metal is the mechanism how we are able to use the energy flow in that. Now, this is the X-ray tube, also similar thing, mechanism. The tungsten is reflects all the anode, cathode, the electron is bombarded, but because of the resistance, they reflected in the X-rays produced. These are some of the how natural mechanism, how we are using in our daily life in the flow of energy. Now, this is how we are. Now, let's get into the more biochemical energy and all. So, in the orientation, the electrons are this is the formula is used how the electrons are stable in the different levels of the shells here. The first has only one, which is hydrogen, has one proton and one electron, and then if in the second shell, the 2n square has 8. For example, the oxygen can take 8. So what it does is it has only 7. So it steals the one electron from hydrogen, and that becomes how it becomes the covalent bond. And the hydrogen is left with the the sharing electron with the oxygen. So this hydrogen molecule is formed, and that leaves the hydrogen affinity like this. Hydrogen bonds make the water sticky because that the electron from the hydrogen is partly shared by the oxygen atom, and the hydrogen left with the positive charge and oxygen left with negative. So that makes the hydrogen bonding. So that makes the hydrogen bond make water sticky. So similarly, hydrogen bonds are happening with in addition to the oxygen, similar thing happen. For example, just like how oxygen is looking for an extra electron, it has only 7. In the second shell, it is looking for 8. So same concept happens with the other atoms here, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. They are also looking for extra electron. So that is how the hydrogen bonds are formed. And so this becomes hydrophilic. And hydrophobic has a different pattern. There is no hydrogen affinity. Now, so that is how the energy flow is happening, and this is very important. And of course, the water molecule has the covalent bonding, and in the similar concept happens. The sodium takes away, the chlorine takes away the electrons, so that's why the sodium and chloride form the ionic bond here. Because the sharing of the electron mechanism. So this is how the energy flow is happening in the ionic bond, in the covalent bond, and so this is the just understanding this natural mechanism of flow of energy helps us how it is when universe is moving. Now, this is the nucleotide. This is the nitrogenous base and the pentose sugar and the phosphate. So this pentose sugar and the phosphate, they are the backbone of the DNA. So so then the hydrogen bonds or the nitrogen base are bound together through the hydrogen bonds. And this the backbone is through between the nucleotide. That's the mechanism how that one is going forward. So now next 5 slides, I'm going to describe how I have been doing in the last 5 years of my career. So this is this research that summarizes my PhD course from 75 to 78 at IISc. So Sri Krishna, I think he is not here today. So he was instrumental in helping me to spectroscopy and ultraviolet light to identify the retinol binding protein, and combining with the prealbumin and isolation of the prealbumin and retinol binding protein. He isolated that, and then I was isolating this one, and then also most importantly in my PhD thesis, I was studying the association between the thyroxine and the prealbumin, which is a tetramer component, and the association strength is weaker than the thyroxine globin binding. So with this one, so the stronger main thyroxine carrying protein is the thyroxine binding globulin, but the small portion is also carried through the prealbumin binding, and also this is a loose binding. This more of the free thyroxine is through binding with prealbumin, so that maintaining the homeostasis mechanism is helpful by having this binding aspect compared to the strong binding with the thyroxine globulin. So all this and also similar binding concept is happening between RBP and prealbumin. This is a 30,000 molecular weight. So it is not filtered to the kidney because it is bound to the prealbumin. It's a tetramer 120,000 units. So all these things have significant impact on the clinical aspects of these all various binding proteins and the components and thyroxine homeostasis. So this one has multi-system endocrine interactions, expressions, and adipose tissue, insulin resistance, gonadal hormone, and also more recently the amyloidosis with the Alzheimer's disease and also cardiac amyloidosis. So those are all the various things that we're learning by how these proteins are behaving. So that is the first part of the research. Then I moved on to Baylor College of Medicine, where I was trying to purify the G protein, so which is a very important aspect in the mechanism, in the metabolic aspect, is acts as a second messenger. So when we are stimulating the epinephrine and other hormones, so the G protein and adrenaline cyclase, they are interacting and making the significant functioning in the body. So this is very important and almost like a second messenger in the body. So G protein and adenyl cyclase, they bind and they convert the ATP to cyclic AMP using the cyclic adenyl cyclase. So all the phosphorylation is all happening through that important mechanism. So this is a very important protein. So this earned the Nobel Prize from one of our different lab when I was working. So I was in a different lab. So the purification of the G protein happened during my research from the other lab. So they had, of course, there are so many other research was presented in this field and has won the Nobel Prize at that time. So then again, the phosphorylation of the proteins are all through this adenyl cyclase mechanism. And the G protein is a very important protein. Many research has done subsequently. I'm not really up to date in that. So that is the second step for my research. Then the third one is, of course, then I went on to the research at Montreal Heart Institute with the implant of the stent. These are just listed some of the milestones in cardiology. Various things happened. Of course, Christian Bernard was the first successful human heart. But what I want to bring to my pleasure is I was involved in the third stent. Human stent was implanted at Montreal Heart Institute. So I was able to witness that one personally. So that was a part of my satisfaction in the whole process of this milestones in cardiology. Then I went on to proceed with the continued interventional cardiology practice, and the stent has been has revolutionized the field. And again, in the previous slide, I had to respect Andreas Grunzek. He's the main person in inventing the angioplasty, first cornea angioplasty, and he died young in helicopter crash. So that was another milestone person there. So anyway, so my stent has been has made significant advance in the interventional cardiology. So now I'm more focused in the preventive cardiology, the clinical cardiology, which focuses on the risk factors of the heart disease. So now, then the fifth, and continuing in the same field. So again, I was involved in, of course, initially before we started the stenting. Before that, we had just the plain balloon angioplasty, which has significant restenosis rate, and the stent has made significant improvement to reduce the restenosis rates. Then also in calcified stenosis, the rotablation, this I enjoyed most also. And also atherectomy, this one didn't stay too long, but stent and rotablation are very much in practice. So now this is the last fifth of the slide in my career I'm presenting. So this is a melting point for all aspects of science and medicine and the basic science, everything. So all this includes the genetic background, the large molecules and small molecules, and these are all the pillars of the guideline directed medical therapy in congestive heart failure. This is one of the slides, and there are so many guidelines in medical practice, but this is what we are practicing using significantly in our daily practice. So this is I just wanted to bring to your attention. So anyway, so again in that let's see, SGLT inhibitor, ERNI, ACE inhibitor, beta blocker. These are all various small molecules are widely used. And we have this lot of genetic research and so many other all the aspects of the science is involved in development of this point. So, do you have any more questions, or can we keep going? Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Next thing is, let's go back to the basic science some more again. Basically, what holds the DNA strand is the hydrogen bond. And of course, the transmission of the information happens from the DNA, RNA, protein. We are all very familiar with. I don't have to go through all these details. These are very basic slides. Now, another last slide in this manifested energy is getting into the genetic engineering. Genetic engineering has its own niche, and also we had discussion about the large molecules, small molecules, all those things. We'll be discussing those aspects later, some other presentations. Now, let's get to the how we can put it all together. So the idea of the mind as a reflective consciousness is consciousness of the soul is a philosophical concept, and it's not a scientific one, with varying interpretations across the different belief systems, spirit and spiritual traditions. Some see mind as a tool or aspect of the soul, while others view them as a separate entities or different level of consciousness. So I'm giving three examples here. One is Sadhguru's presentation about how he's describing over the perception. In this particular, he's describing perception is most important, which is very correct. So we have to perceive the divine energy, oneness manifestation. But the expression, what I'm presenting in a different context, but he's in this particular things, his expression is only a materialistic expression we are talking in our on our daily life, which is right. But what I was looking in my expression in my first slide is the expression of the purity of the mind. That's how I presented as the expression is a Sat Chit Ananda, like I said, the chit, I brought that in my slides in a different way, but he's using the expression in the different context of our daily life. We have to express that for our daily life. There's a transactional aspect he's referring to, but I am looking into the transcendental aspect of it. So transcendental energy and transactional energy is different. So we have in the daily life, we have to find the difference that way. So then in the second one is Sauroprayan, he explains that one. So when you are indwelled in Atmic consciousness, then your expression comes as a pure love. So that's why the expression is a pure love when you are indwelled on the Atmic consciousness. That's what he's describing in the second part. The third one is the inventor of the CPU, which is Federico Fagin. So he's the inventor of the CPU in the Intel. Yeah. So he is saying, so electron energy moving all around is like a that is the concept that he's using, and he's using as a quantum information panpsychism. His coming from as a scientist, so he's predicting that okay, we can it will given as a testable prediction in the near future. So that is what is the optimistic as a scientist. So but we should have a humbling experience that this unmanifested energy tapping through this scientific techniques is not an easy task. So it's a very debatable understanding the oneness and the is such a very challenging task. So, but that is how the expression is going on in the field. Now, let's go to the further deep into this same slide that has shown you before. So basically, as I said, Nirguna Brahman is the Gunatita state, and this is the one with all the three gunas and the 6 evils and the 5 human values. This is the real Kurukshetra, where we are trying to find the equanimity, and that's the Prajnana Brahman. So if you are able to find the equanimity between the 6 civils and the 5 human values, so then we can pursue the oneness through our the normal daily life. So, and then your concept of the false doership will disappear, and you are with the surrender of the mind, you'll become the non-doer. And also false free will, the cause and effect, karma theory, all those things will disappear, and it will become easiness, the oneness. That's our goal of life. Now, what Einstein has has described, the energy is the source, and we can convert into mass. But the way it is happening is to the concept of Maya. So then, also with the invention, with the unknown thing, the dark energy and the dark matter, we don't even know how this energy exists. We hardly know only 5% of the existing energy at this point. So I had in my first talk presented the concept of entropy and entropy. So that may be playing a role here in this level or in this level also. So entropy is the outward flow of the energy, and the entropy is the flow of inward energy. So outward flow of the energy is through the 6 evils, and inward flow is through the concept of the 5 human values, Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema. So the finding the equanimity is the goal of life in the Prajnana Brahma, and going back to this unmanifested, tapping into through this one. Are we able to meet through the scientific techniques? Of course, we are very well equipped with the spectroscopy, chromatography, all the various techniques in our daily life, we have it. But are we able to understand this unmanifested energy, and how deep we can go to understand this dark energy, dark matter, and where do we stand? All those things is a huge, long way to go. It accounts for 95% of the energy. So let's go to the next slide. Now, let us understand Om is the primordial sound is being Om. So this is where the energy part. This is the Turiya state of the energy. This is the transcendental state of the energy. This is of our goal. But we are being blocked to reach there from our daily life. Oh, I'm sorry. We are in our daily life. These are 3 stages of the life. And we are not even close to reaching that because of the Maya. Yeah. So this is the again, the Maya is an Advaitic concept only, but it is not in the other 2 schools of thought, Vishishta Advaita and Dvaita doesn't I agree with the Maya state. But let's focus on this Advaita concept. So also this is 3 stages are also described in other form, the manifestation, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, or Lakshmi, Saraswati, Sarde, all those concepts are there. But this basically our daily life is going through all these 3 things. So, and believing that Turiya state is the goal, as our goal of understanding oneness. So how to reach that stage? So let's go through the next stage. So now, as I said, 90% of the universal energy, manifested energy in hydrogen atom, right? So let's start. This one has my personal experience. This may not be entirely in that, but incidentally also I found a Chidambaram Rahasya. Yeah? In the Chidambaram, let me describe the Chidambaram Rahasya, what that means. What you go to, when you go to Chidambaram, all that you see is an empty space. Akasha is the Akasha Linga, is the manifested energy there. But let me independently, I had a thinking, it occurred to me, since Om is the axis a trident, and the whole energy manifested, this is a manifested energy, huh? So manifested energy, Shiva used the trident and separated. When he separated, then the origin of the Akasha happened. When there was a space, then we could see the things around us, and that the effect is Maya. So without creating the Akasha, so there is nothing we could see. It's all as a it's all single block. So that is the concept I'm relying on here. Okay, so then, so with the creation of the Akasha, then the next 5 elements started. Elements. Akasha is the first element. Okay. The second one is air, then the fire, and the water, and the earth. Then the whole universe happened, and the whole galaxy started after that. So origin of the university, this universe happened in this concept. Let's indulge on this concept for a minute or a few seconds for you to understand, because I'm moving too fast to imbibe all these energies. I hope this is very helpful to understand. So let me go to the next stage with that, next slide with that. Now, so with the Om being the primordial energy and created that Akasha and the universe. Now, uh, uh, what is the origin of the universe? So as I mentioned, hydrogen is the 90% of the element. In the Vedas, it's written as a paramanu. Paramanu is the smallest of the smallest. Okay. So that is the paramanu is this love. Love is the source of the universe. That's what I'm proposing here. So, of course, not me, everybody is proposing that, okay? But I think that understanding how the smallest of the smallest as love can become the universe, we are going to describe in the next slide. This is the conglomerate of the smallest of the smallest piece. Love is the smallest to the largest, infinity in the size the building block of cosmos. Love is the Sat and is the Chit and becomes the Satchidananda and the bliss. So it is entire universe is love. So in the concept of Sat, you are going to see only the existence. You are not going to see the all the three gunas and differentiation. It didn't start yet. So then when the differentiation starts with the three gunas, then we'll see the manifestation and the all those things. That's the next step. So then, of course, we are going to enjoy, see the bliss after that. So the starting point, imagine you replace this one with the hydrogen atom for the sake of discussion. So that's exactly what is happening in the universe. So as a scientist, are you able to find the smallest of the particle as a scientist? Or we need to rely on the spirituality to say, describe, okay, the smallest is light. So that is the thing, meeting point we have to see. Right now, the scientists are saying, okay, hydrogen is the smallest. So they are still coming up with smaller particles, but maybe even smaller particles. And this is the love. I don't know, is it all in this form, or I'm just draw, is it conceptually? Lot of theoretical physicists are coming up with the different papers every day. There is a new theoretical physics is coming, but this is certainly I was able to perceive this as a universal energy for a moment. Now, next slide I'm going to see. So next we talked about the Om is the primordial energy. So how the Om itself is a conglomerate of the multiple small units of love. So that's what I'm proposing here. So that's what I'm trying to understand. So this Om is the primordial sound, and the Om can be either smaller or bigger, depending on how big is the conglomerate of that love thing is. So Om is the primordial sound. And then let us see. Then I have, okay, then let's go to the next slide. So then, of course, this is, as I said, this I already showed this one as the expression, divine love personified is in this slide is shown. And then the enlightenment happens in the third stage, and that's the bliss. When Buddha king became enlightened, and that's what happened, that's the bliss. So that is the Satchidananda manifestation. Now, let us see as a self-realization is everybody's his goal is self-realization. There are 6.5 billion people in the earth, and everybody has different paths. So everybody has different paths, but all those paths are summarized into three paths: bhakti, karma, jnana, three, and they are considered. I think this is very hard to separate from each other. They are all considered as the three facets of the self-realization. So let us say these are the various paths that you are taking: pranayama, transcendental meditation, mindful meditation. So, and here we are. So we are doing soham meditation, let's say. So when you are taking the soham, you have to drive the energy. Where that energy is coming from? It is from the Atma. So we are driving the energy from the Atma into the Kriya Karma Yoga. Then we are releasing that energy through Bhakti Yoga. So then, and then the silence is back into the Atma. So that's the Turiya state. So basically, in one breath, we are going through all the three phases of the atom. This is what happened to Ganesha when he was contesting with the Subramanya. So in one breath, he took went around Shiva and sat down and said, I went through the universe. So whereas Subramanya went through the whole manifested universe and took longer term. But I'm saying that, so this indwelling on the Atmic consciousness will lead us into salvation, into oneness. And this is how the meditation practice can be perceived, as these are all the three facets of the energy is all here, and it's all coming from your Atma and nowhere else. And we always constant integration awareness, always indwelling on the Atma is the key in the whole process. That is our Prajnana Brahman. That is your Bhakti Karma Jnana Yoga in this thing. And also the last slide, we are going to go back to the same slide that I showed you, the 7 chakras here. So that 7 chakras are viewed by the Advaita, Dvaita, Vishtadvaita at different levels, at different aspects. And Dvaita said, okay, everything is one. And Vishtadvaita says it's a Trimurtis, they are, it's a branching tree. And whereas when into Sahasrara, you are going to see or maybe many more. Even in our Sahasrara Namas, you can description of the oneness is there presented. In the Sahasrara, if you read any of the Sahasranamas, is describing the God in different formats, but that's all one. So let us pray at God with this Gayatri Mantra. This is the Om. Om is the source, the packed energy, and the Bhur Swaha is describing the Dehatma, Jivatma and Paramatma. Those are the three levels of the same consciousness, and it's described as oneness. And the next next level is describing the appreciating the beauty of this universe. Tat Savituruvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Again, finally, we are going to meditate on that one, saying that give me this enlightenment so that I can feel the oneness in this universe. So that is the summary of this slide. And this is the various different spectra of the spiritual spectrum is manifested here. So this is the energy is manifested in this one. So that's my concluding slide. And thank you for your attention. I hope you have any questions. Let us know. Yeah.
Thanks, Krishna Bhatt. Felt like came from a satsang,
Sorry, I think we are doing a lot of
No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I think it's pretty educational.
So to make it meaningful to our scientific career, so I think this is how is important, because what we have discovered is only 5%. Remaining 95% is still, even Einstein couldn't figure out what's going on. So that's why we have a long way to go. They just want to, put us in the right perspective.
Yeah, very good. I enjoyed your talk.
Sri Krishna. Okay, I'm glad that you are here. See, I wanted to thank you for leading me in my PhD thesis. Okay, I may not have done that one before, but this is really was a stepping stone into my energy of understanding in IISc. Yeah, thank you.
Anyway, Purusha Suktam also says, Tripadurda Udait Purushaha Padostyeha Bhavat Punaha. So very small portion of what we see is the whole universe. What is not revealed is somewhere beyond that, beyond the universe. So that's what you were also saying. What we see is only small part of it, 5% or 20%, whatever. Very good. You also said beautifully that love is the basis. If my parents did not have love, I would not be here. So it is very important. Even the Upanishad says, Sokameta Bahushyam Prajayayeti. He desired, because of that love, every creation came. Very good. Nicely, science and spirituality all in within 1 hour. Great.
Thank you.
I have one question, Krishna Bhatt, and Sri Krishna also. This Tripadurdva Udait Purusha. How do they know that if it is not manifested, how is unmanifested reference do? There should be some inference that something there, that is, we don't know.
Basically, it's saying something beyond anything we see. That's what it is saying.
Yeah, but what is the basis of that conclusion?
I don't know. Revelation. Revelation. all.
Yes, I can answer you from a astronomy standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah, this experiment was done by students of Boston College under a project designed by a professor of astronomy. This was in the 60s. They were measuring the velocities of stars and in the Milky Way. And unlike the solar system, which follows Kepler's laws, the distant stars had the same velocity of movement as the ones that are closer to the center of the Milky Way. So they said, how is it possible? Because Kepler's third law states that if the planet is away from the sun, it slows down. And if it's closer to the sun, its orbital velocity increases proportionately. And there is a law he put down, and all the planets follow that. But the stars in the Milky Way galaxy were not following that. So only explanation they could come up with was the center of the galaxy is not the only source of gravity. There is something that is also exerting gravity between the stars in the outer aspects of the Milky Way, which is preventing them from just flying off. And that's why there was no relationship between the innermost stars and the outermost stars. And they coined this as the dark energy because it neither emits light nor absorbs light. So there is no way of measuring it. So like Krishna Bhatt said, there is at the present time no way of understanding what it is that makes up the dark matter and also is the dark energy, because as humans, we are only limited by what we can measure. 5% of the universe that emits light or absorbs light is all we can see. But the gravitational experiment, like that, what the college students did, showed that there is 95% of the universe that is not visible to us. That is what, the Sanskrit shlokas are great because they say they have an innermost understanding. But when you put the facts together, mixing science with philosophy, that's when we realize that, hey, that is the truth. But that is where science stands, as far as I'm concerned. Actually showing practically, proving in a measurable way what the philosopher said. Philosophy, anyone can say anything. But to prove it, that's where the rubber meets the road or the metal. That's just my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
But that's quite true. They might have said that to reduce the ego, that we don't know everything.
Yes.
I have a question about
that can lead to that conclusion.
There's in physics they have a string theory. You guys are familiar with that?
Yes.
It's all vibration. Everything's vibration.
Vibration. Yes.
So sound is also vibration. Only through sound we can do a lot of stuff. And also they represent the whole universe in 11 dimension, 10 dimension or something. I don't understand that. Even though I learned some physics, but I forgot. So it's interesting. Anything vibrates will start giving life. That's where the protons and everything moving around, all those things. So I'm also not a philosopher. I read something, bits and pieces. I attend satsangs. One of the things I'm really interested is to understand human life with karma and then how it affects my thinking has been affected completely by my daughter who is a special need. It's almost like a second nature in me. It's almost something has changed my mind. And I'm affected by that for the last 33 years. And I'm not able to figure out why is happening and how is happening, what is going on. This is autistic kid, my daughter. So that really puts me off from philosophy because this is what we observe now in my life. And I've seen a lot of parents. I work with a lot of parents. It's the same issue, completely consumed by dark matter. I call them dark matter because whenever my daughter comes in, completely our mind is completely aligned to something. And I'm really surprised. Mind is outside or inside, or the problem of your mind function. It looks like, my interpretation, it looks like something like a cellular phone. Somebody calls you from India, then I can hear them, but we don't know the connection. So mind is like that. Maybe through karma, through something, it has come to the stage where our mind is also in a sense of environmental control. So that's all I'm surprised, because I work with a lot of autistic kids, and I see how much spectrum of mind they have. That's why I always tell people how many kids they have. I said two, one son and one daughter. Son is MD PhD, my daughter is ADHD. So that spectrum, I know what it is now. So the mind is not, it's given to you, or it's, I'm not talking about free will. It's not given to you, or it is associated with something which is being carried over in the ether, or whatever you call, dark matter, whatever you call. Whether it comes to you, and I know a lot of things, people I talk to, mentor them. Passion is what I'm looking into. What is a passion? Without passion, you cannot move, obviously. Passion is always bubbling in your heart, and you cannot tell anybody what my passion is, because the expression of your passion is like it's like unknown to known. So when the passion is really hitting, it hits every year. For me, every year it hits me. Every year, I'll tell you. It's very difficult to understand why it's hitting me, why I'm married to the passion, and how my mind is working with respect. So what I'm trying to say is, all these things are connected in the sense that we are not alone. We are oneness with something else. We don't know the relations between them.
Well, Pattabhiraman, if I may, Sri Krishna answered that recently to a query. He said it is the vasana that people are born with, because in my simple way of understanding, there is a physical world and a metaphysical world. It is a mistake to confuse one for the other. The physical world is what we follow as scientists. We try to see the mechanisms of enzyme reactions and the chemical interactions. But there is another aspect to life, which is the metaphysical, which cannot be measured because it takes a whole different way of thinking. And so when we think of biological terms, that if I am a PhD and my daughter and son has to inherit that intelligence and become PhDs too, but they stray away from that, then people become philosophers and they say that soul is different. That soul had a vasana from a previous birth or whatever karma it inherited that took it to a different level, although chemically and biologically it inherited the same genes from me. Its path in this life is very different. That's what Krishna Bhatt was talking about, the karma, gnana, and the bhakti. The soul follows its own pathway. That is based on what it has gone through before and why it is born at this time in this present form to follow its goal. And parents should not blame themselves. It's not like you are abusing drugs or something that caused the child to have autism or something that happened. So, I mean, as doctors, of course, we don't accept that. We say we have to find a reason, we have to cure every disease, but sometimes we fail. We fail to understand why in a pair of twins, one can go on to become a Nobel Prize winner and other can become an absolute idiot. Is it because some shared a higher percentage of the cytoplasm? That is the kind of physical answer we try to look for, and many times we fail to understand it.
Another thing
so this is what it is kind of described as prarabdha. So it's as vasana is nothing but the hidden impression. So essentially, present is nothing but the results of our past action. So each individual being comes with their bags and baggages of all the thing that is done in the past.
Okay, that's a
What
good.
is there in the present is nothing but the results of our past.
It's a
And
good
what
statement.
we do in the present is what is going to determine the future.
Correct. That's a good statement. I become PhD, and then I'm looking at my life backward, and I was wondering why I even did PhD. I'm moved in a random life, then ended up in PhD, ended up like that. So
See,
my
in fact, not
all
only
these
you,
vasanas,
the
everything,
entire
something
world,
has
the
to be.
universe is moving. There is some force is controlling. See, that's where when we say me, that me is a mistaken identity. So I identify myself as this body, I am so and so. So I is not this mistaken identity, so and so, I am PhD, I am man, I am heavy, whatever it is. I is who is that I? If you really, when you are sleeping, when you're waking up, so is it the I that was there when you are a young kid, or when before marriage, or when you are doing PhD, when you are a CEO? Who is that I? There are so many transformations that is happening. That I remains essentially the same. So that I is, the I is in you is the I in me, or whatever it is, and that's where the philosophy says I is only that oneness that is being talked about.
But what about how does the information transfer? I understand DNA transfer to the project. How my karma or whatever the thinking I made or whatever the action I did, whatever the birth I have, how is being maintained somewhere? Is it in a CD or something, or cloud? Like a computer example I'm giving. So there should be mechanisms that unknown to known. There will be some gray area where you can get into.
So that's what they say, it is the Maya. So when the Maya itself is, it is an apparent reality. It does not have absolute reality. So this apparent reality is your perception. The perception varies from individual to individual. See, actually, you are in my world and I am in your world. But both of our worlds are very different. Because when I have the identity as me, that is what is the first I comes, then that is aham, then the idam, the entire world. If aham is not there, idam is not there. So the idam that is for you is different than, because you are in my world. If I am not there, you are not there. When you identify yourself as the individual, all these things are virtual. So now how are all these things? We are all there together and then watching all these things. Are we real?
Oh.
Yes and no. We are connected, we are here, we are talking about all these things.
I am interested in the same topic that you brought up.
Okay.
Can consciousness be stored without a physical body? Can it exist independent of a physical structure? So that is where it comes down to, and there is indirect evidence to suggest that it can. That is whether the soul exists, and can soul exist without, because we are used to seeing a physical structure like a computer chip where information can be stored, but can information, or what we call consciousness, exist without a physical structure? And how is it stored? How is it passed on? That is really the core question. And yeah, there are some studies I can refer you to, which have been done, which are very interesting. They're done by psychiatrists, where a person's soul, this goes down to the concept of reincarnation.
Yeah.
Where was that information stored? Where that personality was stored before the soul existed again in the body of another person or a child? How did that person manifest or remember its past life? That is really the crux of the question you are asking.
Correct.
Yeah. So there is some evidence, and I think it will be a very interesting session to discuss that evidence. It's,
because the computer has taught us a lot of things about life. One is the cloud computing. Okay,
yes.
That stores a lot of information. Anybody can access anything. Also, artificial intelligence. When you look at artificial intelligence now, we lost our intelligence. We don't know what we are looking at, whether it's real or true. Same thing in life. Actually, we are looking at something.
Yeah, but the cloud computing still has to have a server.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm looking for something, our action or whatever it is. I also look at horoscope, astrology, everything.
Dr. Pattabhiraman, I will suggest, actually, there is a very, very nice and simple text by Ramana Maharishi, Upadesa Saram.
I read that.
40 verses. So
yes.
If you can read, and then we are in Silver Spring, so I will come and discuss with you. There is an opportunity to do that, but that really succinctly, Ramana Maharishi really, goes through the whole process. I mean, of course, I can read and understand, but that's not what it is.
Correct.
You really have to realize. That's what is all his talk about is, self-realization. One that is realized, all these questions, everything, disappear. So that's what is the physical versus, what is that is beyond the aprameya. So we cannot learn or understand all these things, the limited cannot really understand the unlimited.
So there was some suggestion of Stula Sharira. So to carry on to the memory to the next, just like asanas you are just referring to. But my answer for that one is, let's indwell on further deeper into the Atma. When you go to the Atmic consciousness deeper, further, and as we go, believe that we have always, we are the Atma, we indwell on that philosophy. I think we can get out of that attachment to the asanas.
Yeah, I've been trying to.
Just my piece of thought.
I've been trying to get out of attachment for the last 73 years.
Yeah, it's
I don't know how. I always entangle myself.
Let's follow the 5 human values and the 6 evils. That's the separating point. So that's
can you please tell them what are those 5 values that you are referring and
Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, Ahimsa. Those are the 5 human values. The 6 evils are, the Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Master. Those are 6. Those are the 6 evils and the 5 human values. That's the
5 values. Can you repeat again?
For life.
Can you
5
repeat
values?
the 5 values?
Repeat it again, please.
Slowly.
I'm sorry.
5 values. Repeat slowly.
The 5 human values are Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, Ahimsa. Okay, in all these 5, Prema is the fundamental of all those things. That's the foundation of the universe. That's what I just showed in my slides. So love is the building block of the whole universe. There is nothing else but love. If we continuously pray and indwell on that philosophy, so we should be able to focus, turn away from the 6 evils and find the solution to the oneness.
Why there are 6 more evils than values?
See, all those 6 are nothing but only one. Everything starts with Kama. Because, Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, Dhyayato Vishayan Bumsaha, Sangasteshu Bhajayate, Sangas Sanjayate Kamaha, Kamat Krodho Bijayade, Krodat Bhavati Sammohaga, Sammoha Smriti Brahmaha, Smriti Brahmsat Buddhi Nashaga, Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. Everything starts with Kama. So that is, Kama is, thinking of an object. You get an attachment to an object. So that is, then you want to kind of get an object, that Kama, the not fulfillment of that object, if you are not getting, that turns into Krodha. So Kamat Krodho Vijayade, Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha. So once you are really angry, then you lose your ability to discriminate things. So that's where Kama, Krodha, Lobha, then
Venkat, the creation of universe is a result of Kama. So Kamayata Bhosyam Prajayat. So Kama is the fundamental for driving anything.
No,
but Kama doesn't have to be negative. Kama can be positive too.
No, correct. Kama is as a part of love. Love is also there a little bit there. That's only it's sort of a.
Bhagavan himself says also, I am the Krama without really in a rightful way, righteous means, one of those.
It's a Purushartha.
Kama is the Purushartha.
Purushartha, but unfortunately.
That Kama is also Dharma, that is not Virod to Dharma. So that kind of a Kama is there, and we can work towards and then acquire wealth and get all those things are also there. So again, here it is primarily, the attachment.
Very, very contextual. Because we use only Kama for all the things. It's very contextual.
Yes.
Kama should not violate Dharma and
correct.
Moksha.
Yeah.
But one thing is, once you realize, you don't see the difference between the good and the bad. They are the two sides of the same coin. And to think that the world will be utopian if you process this thing, I think that is a very naive idea. Good and bad always exist. It's only the perception of ours.
Yeah, it's a duality. Without bad, where is good?
Exactly.
So my experience with my daughter is, I've been for first 8 years, I ignored, I yelled at people, I was angry about my daughter, I was cursing God for first 8 years. Okay. Once I accept as a oneness, that is, she is part of the world. She's not my daughter. Once I accepted it, it took about almost 15, 20 years. We progressed so much for her because we are not distinguishing.
Yeah.
The problem we have is whenever we go to somebody's house, they distinguish us, like the sisters, brothers, or whoever it is. They always say, why are you suffering? I said, I don't know. I cannot even explain to why I'm suffering. But all I ask them is, can he help me? What he can help me? So the oneness I understood from my daughter as a love, as unconditional love. You don't distinguish, you don't say anything, you don't, even she tells me, Daddy, whenever I'm with you, she's verbal. She said, Daddy, I'm with you. I feel so good. I said, why? You don't ask me anything. You don't yell at me. You don't do this. Before I used to yell. But the oneness, I got the idea, which is not easy to explain to a lot of people who don't have the experience, because the oneness is what we are looking for every action we do. So I learned from her, but I'm teaching a lot of people with that. You don't look at people as they are. Tomorrow you may be changing because your experience is changing. Exactly. So you're not a constant Pataviraman.
Yeah.
So the oneness is what I learned from this. It's like it started with the love. Love means you give as it is. You look at the thing as unconditional love. There is nothing, no comparison, nothing. Because I can compare her with my sister's daughter or somebody. So we feel bad. First 10 years, we felt so bad about ourselves because we were comparing all the time with somebody. And people are reminding me to compare. People are always telling, oh, your daughter is like that. My son is going to Harvard. I said, yeah. So what can I do? Nothing. I'm not getting angry now.
No, the thing is, we are comparing with the bad things.
That's our idea.
Yeah, but
no, we have to think in any given situation.
No, one of the things I learned was.
No, but Pattabhiraman, I can relate to you because my son was also autistic when he started. In the autism spectrum disorder, they call it, 10% of them are geniuses.
Correct.
And so they follow a very typical pattern. Up to 1 year or so, they don't even talk. So
Correct.
People think they're dumb. What's happening? Their milestones are back and regressed. And then when they start talking, then they surge ahead and nobody can understand them. They have a hyperactive brain. They cannot sit still. They are in their own world. So they cannot mix or make friends easily. So Asperger's syndrome is part of that.
Correct.
So it takes a lot of understanding. And when somebody is very busy with their own career, it becomes a burden on the parent.
Correct. No, I understand, fully understand.
Because every time you have to protect them from bullies. And I went through that with my son.
How old is he now? How old is he?
Oh, he is now 40 and he is a board certified pathologist.
Oh, very good.
So you direct them.
Correct.
And then you find out where the strength is.
Correct. The passion strength, yes.
The pattern, because it may be just one part of the brain that's getting more blood supply and growing better. So usually they have a strength. And the weakness may be, for example, when you talk, like you said, when you talk to them about something that interests them, they're all ears. Their hyperactivity just stops.
Correct.
But when they're bored, they're talking about something else, like casual conversation. They're all over the place. So
yeah, one thing I want to comment. Tata's comment is, from India. We are coming from India. Most of the time we don't know what is positive reinforcement. We only know negative reinforcement.
Right.
I'll give an example. I got 3 gold medals in master's physics. I went to my grandma. I thought she will say, oh, you did a good job. You're happy about it. No, she didn't say that. You could have got another gold medal because you went to a movie. That's all. And I asked, after I couldn't ask her that day, after 10 years after PhD, I asked, why did you say that like that? Why didn't you say, nice to hear from you, you were nice, you worked hard? Oh, if you don't say that, your ego will go big, so you won't go to PhD. So that's one thing I learned from my daughter is positive reinforcement. So negative will automatically go through the door, it will run away. Once you have positive reinforced for her, she's completely, completely I changed. Even people told me she's verbal. And I took to different spiritual people and asked them to help her. Nobody wanted help because it's your karma, your problem, all sins and all this. Then I started talking to somebody and we formed a group and we teach her slokas. Even I told the Sinmaya Mission people, can you say, oh, that's all. They said they won't realize. I said, we are not even realized. Everybody is there. So finally, she now says all the slokas in the Siva Vishnu temple in Washington. And she really attends to that. She knows Gayatri Mandira. She repeats with me. But how did she do? Because environment. How did she show positive environment, positive reinforcement? And she also sings very well Carnatic music. The thing is, I couldn't find a teacher. Finally, I found a 11th grader who wants to help people. She's 11th grader in Virginia. She's an IELTS teacher. She's learning music, but she's teaching her. The problem we have is awareness. A lot of people are not aware. I went to a lot of places. You won't believe. I given up on that because it's like waking somebody who is sleeping. You cannot wake him up. So I gave up, and my wife and we are fully devoted to this sort of organization to help. So finally, we are trying to build a house for this community, but the government is not allowing us here. The government is so strict about inclusion. So we are trying to do. And she was in a group home, and we didn't like it, and then we moved her to a condo now. She's living with the support staff, which is very good in this country. I was wondering why I came here. So now I know the answer after 30 years.
What is with your daughter? I didn't understand. What's the...
She's autistic. Autism.
Oh, okay.
You know what is autism? You know autism.
Yeah.
So
I know autism.
hyperactive, ADHD. She's ADHD. So finally
I'm sorry, what did you say? What did you say?
ADHD.
ADHD?
ADHD, hyperactive.
ADHD, yeah. Adult
Attention deficit hyperactive.
Hyperactive attention deficit disorder.
So we spend a lot of, I think we are happy that we are spending 40% of the time to help somebody to do something, and we progress so much because we are so scared as a parent. Still we are scared, but the scare should not stop you to do good things.
You know, one of the mechanisms, I'm a physician, so I can tell you this, is what they proposed is with ADHD, the brain goes to sleep. So they're constantly doing something to keep it active. That's why when you put them on something like Silert or any of the activating substances, they don't need that external stimulation. That's when they quiet down, paradoxically. Whereas if you use like Adderall, if you use it on a normal person, they become hyperactive. Whereas an autistic kid, actually it quiets them because they are doing something to constantly wake up their brain.
Correct. No, I understand.
Yeah. So it is a very strange phenomenon. There are all kinds of things that, Robert Kennedy thinks that it is the immunizations that's causing autism. That's not true. It's more common. I'm surprised that it's in your daughter because it's more common among boys.
Correct.
6 times more common in boys than girls. Yeah, so girls usually it doesn't affect, but there are many girls who have been affected by autism.
I'm telling this, anybody is interested in helping, I can help them. In autistic.
Yeah, there is a society in America. Autism.
No, I know society is a different problem. I'm a very individualist guy. Society is they generally look at general problems, not each one is individually. So I've seen many 50, 60 kids. Each one is a different. It's not like the same. You cannot generalize autism. It's sort of a
it's a spectrum. Autism spectrum disorder. That's why
disorder. So it's a very difficult. No, I went to a lot of places. I went to a lot of organizations, but there are society, but the problem for us is parents has to be involved completely. Otherwise, it won't be done.
It's usually one-on-one instruction. That's correct. That makes them better. So if you have a classroom, we call it cocktail chatter. There are 100 people talking 100 things or 100 noises. Their brain gets distracted, so they cannot focus on one thing. So if you sit one-on-one, facing her, making eye contact, sometimes I had to hold my son's face so that he's facing me so that he doesn't look around and tell him. And you would be surprised how much that brain can absorb. They
are smart inside.
They are very, very smart inside.
Very smart. So I'm sorry I have to bring this because just to.
No.
It's a good
forum.
Because I'm looking at the whole thing as a. I'm also interested. I know that brain. I'm trying to. My son is a neurologist and neuroscientist, and is a psychiatrist. I'm trying to talk to him about is there any brain cell is tuned to other frequency? Suddenly I'll remember somebody's, as I have not seen them, I remember them quickly. So any brain cell which is exposed to not radiation, some other form of energy is communicating to us. That's all. I'm just giving this sort of a thought. So mind is, my feelings, my personal feeling, mind is outside. Mind is, it is given to you from environment. If I live in China, I'll be Chinese food I'll be eating. So that's not, so it's something given to me, that environment. So I'm sorry, I can go on. So I'm just
maybe we can have one session for discussing.
Yeah, I want some. Yeah, that's the thing. I came here because a lot of things I go to, but see, a lot of artists in groups I formed. I call one group I call Oasis. But the problem is when you form a group, the ego comes in, and then people dominate. These are all things I don't like it. So I like what to be done, who is going to be do. So we should have some discussion. I'm going to send you some email about. We made some videos from one of the organization we work with. My wife is a board of directors and a board of. I'm involved with 3 or 4 things. I want to be awareness. I want to spend.
Pattabhiraman, I would refer you to a segment that aired on 60 Minutes.
Okay.
About child prodigies.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, you look at that.
Yeah.
And you'll gain a lot from that, because what the parents have gone through, and you can relate to them.
No,
and
definitely.
Most of these child prodigies were autistic.
Correct.
Because there is a thing known as the, it's a bad word. It's called the idiot savant syndrome. Because they're called idiot savants because their brain, one area is so well developed. They can become musical geniuses or mathematics geniuses. That is, instead of having a global development of the entire brain, all lobes, one part becomes extremely strong at the cost of others. So it is a lot of understanding that, dealing with very smart children is very difficult. Like the beautiful mind.
Correct.
Yeah, it is the same thing, same phenomenon. Society sometimes doesn't understand geniuses.
No.
Oh, now I know why they don't understand me.
You're an exception. You're a genius and a savant.
Finally.
Good one, Sri Krishna. Good one.
Okay.
Well, Krishna Bhatt, thank you very much. You brought up so many topics, from fundamental physics to metaphysics, ultimate metaphysics.
Life principles.
Even written on by the talking.
Thanks, Ramesh.
Written on binding button also.
Right. It was a whole summary.
Ramesha, thank you for arranging this.
Sure, no problem. Pattabhi, so I will take you up on this one. Maybe I will invite you to a talk on your experience.
I don't know what to talk. That's why I'm scared after listening to Bhatt. So he covered everything. So
your experience will be so.
No, that's
different.
only I'm trying to. I didn't hear anything from them. What they went through in life. What are the principles they learned? What did they stand for? I couldn't understand my father what he stood for. He lived, I lived. That's all. We didn't have any conversation. So we can cover one topic. Each one can take 10, 15 minutes and give us their background, what they like. I'm giving the background now, which I'm happy that I told you that. I don't mind talking. Another thing I'm interested in always helping people, collaboration, internship, all these things I want to do. But the problem is finding the right people. I don't take people who are not passionate. There's no point in wasting your time this time. So we'll have a session on maybe 10, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 4 speakers.
Sure.
Think about it. Then we'll. I don't want to. I can talk. Science is totally different. My science. So I can talk.
Pattabhiraman, what years were you at IISc?
74, 79.
74. So whose class were you?
What about
I was 73 to 78.
Oh, you must have seen him.
I must have seen. I don't see. The problem is, I don't call the real proper names in this country. Hey, Vada Poda. Hey,
No, no.
I know one.
Whose lab were you in?
Which Sasishekaran? MBU.
Cheryl?
MBU.
MBU. Okay.
Sasishekaran.
So our lab was in MBU department only. Kama's lab and Appajara's lab were both in MBU.
Oh,
No.
We were in
Yours was in
MCBL.
MCBL.
Oh, the MCBL.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
what I
You have
said.
become-
MBU was not a
You
space.
are Balaraman
Yeah,
department.
exactly.
Balaraman.
GNR and all.
Oh, MBU. That's why I don't know you. You're in MBU. If you are in bio or MCBL.
No, I hang out with everybody. I didn't know even. I know Tachatari. I know somebody else, but
Yeah,
I didn't know.
we used to know Patabi very well. Patabi, Gupta, and all. They used to hang
We're all
Yeah,
very, hang out with everybody.
Yeah, but what happens is hairless is difficult to identify.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Before picture, after picture. I got my PhD before and after. My son also before and after. So
you are in which lab in MBU?
No, I know all these people except you because I hang out with everybody.
Which lab were you in MBU? Were you with DNB and all?
Sasishekaran.
Oh,
When I said structure of DNA, I was the guy who worked on structure of DNA.
Sasishekaran. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we had Katti,
Katti, Krishna and
Rao.
Kuti.
Yeah.
Gupta.
All these people, they were
I think
all our friends.
Patabi, if I remember correct, you are famous for the parallel strands of the DNA instead of twisting, right?
Who?
Your work on the parallel strands.
Parallel structure I did on left-handed DNA. Still, I'm working on it. Still, I'm working. You won't believe. I got somebody's writing a book on this. What we see is not right, like DNA structure. DNA double standard is correct. That's the way my theory is. But the chromatin structure is changed completely double standard. It's a double standard, not double helix. So I worked on parallel structure. I worked on novel structures, which I'm interested in. I'm also, I'm really now, when somebody showed a slide for water structure, Krishna showed that. I've been working on water structure for 30 years. Still, I'm not happy. You showed me an electron cloud and all this. So I'm trying to figure out as a physicist why water has a high density changes at 4 degrees. Okay, nobody has explained. Biology is important. What is important everywhere, from spirituality to living, and nobody has understood 3 atoms. And he showed the electron cloud. I'm very happy to see the electron cloud. So I'm still working on it. Water is another thing. I was watching all these videos, all this learning about philosophy. Water is a property which stores memory. That's the way they all claim. A lot of people claim.
I was going to ask you about the water memory. See, that's a big thing.
Yeah, that's yesterday I was watching a video. One of the ladies, one of the sannyasis or whatever, she said, Om Bhurbhusva. No, what is the other one? What is it? Triyambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivarddhanam. That sloga she said 3 times. First asked them to drink the water. Then 3 times she said, ask them to drink water. She felt different. The person who was doing it. I know water has memory. I read so much. Now I believe by model. I have a model to prove that. But I don't know.
Homeopathy was based on that.
If you talk to the homeopathy doctor, so they believe in this water memory. So they can do 10 to the minus 23 or beyond. They think it will.
I'll tell you.
Hey, Ramesh, yesterday I was showing this publication in Nature in 2004. The guy who talked about this published it. He died in 2004. That Ben Winst from France. And I also read that the paper was not withdrawn. It's still there. They did not withdraw the paper, even though the editors went and checked and they could not confirm the results. But somehow they let the paper go without.
That paper. I've been collecting a lot of papers about it, and I read the paper.
Which one are we talking about?
The water memory.
Water memory.
Water memory. See, in the homeopathic medicine, more dilute you make, more potent it becomes.
I'll tell you another thing. The water memory. Somebody has done
that's a myth, because they showed that you exceed the
Avogadro's number.
Huh?
Avogadro's number.
Avogadro's number.
There's no molecule there.
But the experiment thing Subbarao was telling is that somebody made a polymerase reaction and took the molecule out and sent to somebody, and they can recreate that. Do you understand? It's very, very complex, and the Nature published, and the team came and couldn't prove it. So I don't know whether that's the paper you're talking about, Subbarao?
Yeah. I read the paper, and also later on, when he died, there was another publication in Nature also.
I'm very interested in water structure because it's so going to solve a lot of problems because we don't understand solubility, we don't understand this, how the protein folds. And I know from my experience, I was in Pondicherry that time when you were in middle school. That time we don't have any doctors that time, so we had to go to the homeopathy guy, and he's a what's called blind guy. Blind doctor.
I think I didn't log in, Ramesh. I can share the screen, I think, right?
Oh, yeah, you can share the screen.
Let me share my screen a little
let
bit.
Let me stop recording. Let me stop recording.
Yeah, stop recording, yeah.
So, thank you, everybody. I have to have another commitment. I have to go.